차렷. Amen. Welcome to Taekwondo Realtor Training White Belt class number 3. Today we're going to go over your schedule for your real estate business. A lot of times when newer trainees come into our programs, they often ask me, what do I do? How does my schedule look like? So I'll tell you up front, your schedules are up to you. Nobody sets your schedules. You don't have a boss that tells you, from 9 to 5, here's your schedule. You have to come to work and you have a 30-minute break for lunch and then you go home at 5 o'clock. Nobody's going to tell you what to do. Nobody's going to set your schedule. So you're just, most people at this level where you're doing 0 to 3 deals a year, you're pretty much white belt for any realtors. So here's a schedule that I suggest you do. Most successful realtors in our Metro Brokers Elite, they usually have a routine, and this is a routine I like for you guys to adopt to and follow along. So weekly schedule, Mondays here, some people like to wake up early. They like to do stuff. I mean, if you have kids at home, of course, this is important time in the morning. But having a routine is very important. So a lot of times I would suggest maybe even, taking care of your kids, go to the gym by 6 a.m. and work out for 1 hour, come back. That doesn't matter. This is your own time. If you have children, you want to take care of your children. So this is a critical time for you. But I suggest doing something, whether it's a meditation, some people do scripture readings, whatever it is, you want to start the morning right. So whatever that gets you out of the bed, you don't want to wake up at 11 every day and get your work started. I mean, if that's your really normal routine, maybe, but early the day you start that day, usually it becomes more productive. So what do? Minimum, every morning on Mondays, you have to prospect. Big word is prospect. Okay. You have to prospect, in my view, minimum 2 hours a day for brand new agents, for white belts. We'll go over some of those in more detail, maybe next class, how to prospect, how to do leads. There are a lot of scripts available to you. You come ask for me for scripts. You could also go online. There are a lot of scripts for free you could get. But this is time for you to prospect. So if you're following along, at this point, you have 3 binders. You have the leads binders, you have the advocates binders, and you have the past client binders. And one of my trainees last week brought up a good point, because he used to be a sales rep for another company, and he had a lot of past clients from another industry that he was able to import to his binder folder. Again, our goal is to have 100 leads in that binder all the time, 100 past clients all the time, 100 advocates all the time that you could call on. So it makes it easier to call. So this is class number 3, and by now you should have 30 advocates in your folder. So again, if you're not there, you need to go back and figure out, how do I get to 30? And if you need additional help, of course, you could come back to me and we could do our one-on-one 1-hour session training for you to help you with finding more advocates for your folder. Again, going back, 9 to 11, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, I would like you to do prospecting. That means getting on the phone and calling and following up with your leads, with your prospects, with your advocates in your folder. What do I do? What do I do? Why do I have Wednesday marked off? Wednesdays are our sales meetings. So when we have our sales meetings, which is almost every week, I really do recommend you come to our sales meetings. And the reason being is we usually have about 20 top producers that are already black belts doing 20 plus, 20 20 deals a year easily for a lot of these guys. This is an opportunity for you to tell your potential sellers that, hey, I'm in the sales meeting every Wednesday at 8:30 at my office. I get to share my listings with this group who are top producers. I get to also talk about the buyers, and we also, talk about our industry, what's happening in our market. So it's a critical meeting, and you want to come to that meeting. So do you just skip prospecting because you're coming to the meeting? No, you do need to still prospect, and you have to prospect probably in the afternoon, or some people even prospect in the evening. You do need to call those contacts. You do need to make, I would say, minimum for a brand new realtor, you need to make 10 calls minimum at the least. Recommended between 10 to 20 calls a day is what you need to do when you first start your business. That's what you need to do for 2 hours for Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. You could also prospect on the weekends if you don't have a lot of buyers and sellers at this point. You still need to prospect. Okay, this business is all about lead generations. You need to generate leads. You need to do prospecting, and you could go on different YouTube videos by other top producing realtors on YouTube videos and learn about that. But anyway, minimum 2 hours of prospecting. Okay, some people like to do door knocking if that's your way of prospecting. My suggestion is a lot of the top producers that I've seen, they just get on the phone and start calling. There are some hints how to make those calls, but today we're just going to focus on your schedule. So what do you do in the afternoon? Maybe take lunch break after your prospecting, and then real estate is all about follow up. So you're gonna, in the afternoons, you're gonna follow up. You're gonna set your appointments in the afternoon for a lot of the appointments. Try not to set it up during your normal prospecting time. Where do you prospect? Okay, I recommend you going to your offices and prospect in your private office if you have one. Or if you have a home office, my recommendation is going to that home office. Don't just do it in your kitchen. Don't just do it in front of a TV. Go into your private study or into a room. Lock yourself in. Don't just, consider this is a serious business. You want to have your notebook again and write down your phone number, contact name, and conversation. Write down the date. Make a goal this year. Hey, I know John recommends 10 calls a day, but I'm going to make 20 calls a day. So do that. And Wednesdays come to our office sales meetings from 8:30 to usually 10 o'clock. We also do tours for listings. This is another good opportunity for you to interact with our elite brokers, our black belt brokers, and ask them a lot of questions. Friday is another recommendation. Every Friday at your local board meetings, I would recommend going to those and meeting with successful realtors to get a hint here and there and talk about their business. And there are a lot of realtors that will open up their secrets and tell you a lot of things about real estate. So my recommendation is when you do get your seller's lead, which we'll talk about later, but you want to be prepared. You said you don't want to be an average realtor and say, hey, I'm just gonna put your house on the market on the MLS. That's really not a good marketing plan for your sellers. You want to say, hey, when I get your house listed, or even prior to getting it prepared, I will go and present it at various avenue, and one of them, of course, is our office sales meetings. And also, you could also do that at your board meeting. For us, that will be, a lot of us are at South Metro Denver Board of Realtors, SMIDRA. So go to your SMIDRA meetings and present those things. So 2 hours, follow up, pretty easy. When do you break your schedule? If you have inspection. Your clients, if you're working with a buyer already or a seller already, your clients' appointments, of course, that's more important for you. Here is, pretty much that's kind of the schedule you want to follow along. I hear that some of the expired listing calls are usually good on the weekends because not many realtors are making those expired calls. So you may want to implement that to your weekend schedule. This is kind of the schedule I want you to follow along for our white belt realtors. Our Robin Hood hint of this session comes from one really successful realtors, of course. This time is about business cards because you're brand new or you've been in the business. But anyway, this gentleman has been in the industry for about 50 years, active. He became many years Realtor of the Year for our market. And he suggested that each broker will have 10 different business cards. You may be wondering why 10 business cards. For him, it worked great because if he's working with a millennial buyer, a young buyer, he would dress down to their level, to what they would consider somebody to be a professional in their viewpoint without the tie. And he will have that business card made, maybe with jeans, something that he thinks will be presentable to millennial buyers. And in that business card, he will say, Realtor Millennial Buyer Specialist, even though he is 80 years old. I mean, he would put that in his business card. Another business card, he will be in coat and tie and really dressed to appeal to the largest segment of sellers out there who are, they're of course your baby boomers. They're the largest segment of sellers. So when he's going into a listing appointment with these sellers, he will dress in suit, in coat and tie, and then he will present his card, and his card would say, surprisingly, he will get the zip code. In this case, maybe 80111 is the zip code. On the business card, it will say listing specialist in 80111 in one of the 10 business cards he's carrying. So obviously it doesn't cost a lot of money for these business cards. And if you're brand new to the business, I mean, it's great to maybe get a business card for whatever your hobby is. For me, that will be tennis. I play a lot of tennis. I coach tennis for free to a lot of people that I know, and I get a lot of business from them. So maybe I could just call myself a tennis broker. Since I'm doing the Taekwondo Realtor program, one of my cards could be Taekwondo Realtor Specialist, or whatever it is. He recommended having a lot of different business cards. Again, it could be, you may not be familiar with what relocation is, but relocation is when people relocate for their job purposes. So if they're coming from California to Colorado, you could have one of your business cards that states that, you, Joe Smith, relocation specialist. And when you meet with a relocation client, you have that business card ready to give to them. So that's the tip from a very successful realtor that I was able to get this week. And that's my Robin Hood tip of this class. Hope you enjoy the class. Hope you learned something. And next time, class number 4, we'll go over your first buyer lead. Yay! Great. So let's keep making those calls. Again, it's not, a lot of times, I mean, you have to put in a lot of hours, especially first 2 years in this business. So, you got to feel like, I understand you want to work 2 hours a day and make $1 million a year. I mean, wouldn't that be great? I mean, that, maybe some people can do that, but most starting realtors will need to put in 9, 10, 11, 12-hour days, and you have to do that consistently for minimum 6 months before you could even get to one closing most of the time. So I know it's a frustrating business. It's a tough business for most people. So again, you have to work long hours. So we'll end the video here, and we'll go to white belt class number 4. Thank you for staying with me this far, and looking forward to making you all black belts. That's our goal. So have a good night.